But to take a slight shift in that direction, we're talking about machine modernization. We're talking about retrofits. You see a lot of interesting things. I guess the best way to kick it off is, we're having some supply chain issues, right? Like, not just I show up to West Texas and they don't have parts and the nearest parts store is 2 hours away, but we're having some supply chain issues. It's hard to get stuff. So what are you seeing on site? Are we bubblegum patching more things together? What are you seeing in the field?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's kind of a double-sided question, because in oil, and a lot of people know a lot of what I do is oil and gas. Now I've branched out tremendously outside of it, but let's just focus on that piece for a second. There's bubble gum patching, which is a nice way to put that, regardless of supply chain issues out there. I mean, seriously, dude, it's a crazy phenomena that none of us are really talking about enough. So yeah, a lot. It's kind of a lot of what gets thrown at me is kind of like, hey, nobody know. A lot of what it is somebody buying something, somebody buying some assets, right? And the company they bought it from, when they were going out or whatever the situation was, didn't keep up with their files. So when they buy it, they're blind. They have no idea what they're up against, what they're facing. Recently, I did a midstream application where I was supposed to go take a micro 1400, upgrade it to a compact Logix, like maybe a day and a half operation, no biggie. I ended up out there for like 4 days, 4.5 days straight. And it ended up turning into a complete panel rewire, a SCADA system overhaul, like the way their data structure was. And then they had a facility that couldn't run until it was tied in too. So I ended up rewiring and commissioning that new side of their facility as well, which was obviously completely out of scope, which is no big deal. It was great work. And we were talking about this before the camera came on, but it was one of those, you drive away and you feel like the wizard that just slayed a dragon on a mountain in the middle of nowhere where no one saw it. So I'll just be driving away, my truck hollering, all by myself, beating on my chest, hollering, knowing we just pulled it off. I swear, I love those jobs. So, but yeah, I mean, we see that a lot.
Caleb, I have a follow-up question. So, sorry to interrupt the train of thought.
No.
I had some conversations about oil and gas. I certainly don't come with knowing that background really well. So when you say, companies are buying others out, are they buying oil rigs? Are they buying, processing facilities? What does that look like? And then they're trying to retrofit the control system so that they can tie it into their, I would say, like, bigger plants, or...
Yeah, or their existing SCADA. So a lot of it will be like a bigger producer or a new producer. Maybe somebody didn't make it, or somebody's trying to downscale a little bit. So they're selling off their field assets. When I say field assets, that could be like LACT units, lease and custody transfer units. That's your cash register on site, your production facilities, your tank batteries with your heater treaters, your separator, your wellheads, pump jacks, all that stuff. And they'll take over this stuff to grow into theirs. But then what happens? Well, they need to bring all that data in to their system, right? And they need to get their control. And as we all know, on paper, sure, it looks great, but it never goes as it's going to go on paper. I tell you, one of the biggest pains in my butt right now in oil and gas applications is, and I love micro 1400s. I do. They're great processors. I don't care what nobody says about them, but there's a million of them out there where the company purchasing doesn't have the original code or doesn't know who originally did it. And I show up on site and pull naked logic. And then I immediately get out and start tracing out the inputs and outputs and seeing what we're connected to, or tracing their SCADA system, their HMI screen. I'm pairing data and I'm literally piecing together puzzles. That happens a lot, dude. I mean, a lot, and they want to upgrade. And sometimes it's hard to convince them that, like, literally it would be faster for me to write this from scratch for you and implement something new that we can get our hands on versus tracing all this out. And then sometimes I get overridden. They want me to trace it out, and that's what I do, but I try to be very blunt, very honest with my customers, just upfront about, I think a lot of companies right now don't have all the people, smaller companies don't have the people in line to really know what battles they're up against when they're acquiring these. They buy them and, they're like, oh, okay, we can get someone out here to put a PLC on it. No biggie. They don't know what they're up against.